Skinny, and skinny, I forgot skinny, which is another one. But what I'm saying is, I mean, that's a sarcastic way of saying, you know, I have image issues. You know, the way I've grown up is to look at myself and define myself in relation to my image. And the echoes of that, even at the age of 50, are still gripping me. And it's nice to have meditation and practice that lets me catch it before I act upon those things unconsciously, which then create all sorts of problems for life. Yeah? And not just for me, but for the people around me. So I'm going to invite you to look at two things. Obviously, the similar things to that, the negative patterns that we hold that might be keeping you too small. Yeah? But then the other one that we don't often look at, I'm going to invite you in this meditation to also look at the beauty you have in your life, the beautiful things you experience, the magnificent states of being that are available to you all the time that you have. And take them for what they are. They're also an experience of you, and we tend to dismiss those as, oh well. We tend to grab onto the darker ones as, this is me, yeah, who we identify with. The reason I'm asking you to connect with those two things in meditation is because the point of studying logic and debating, like I promised in the first class, is to really slow down time in our minds and all the connections between an idea we have, consider me, for example, or your name, insert your name there. I am this type of person because of something. You know, we have these very quick assumptions. I am this because of that. This has happened because of that. Yeah? We do that so quickly, we don't see it as a frame that we just hold up and live through. The point of debating and logic is to break that up really slowly and see the mistake between those assumptions. It might not be that, or to be that might not necessarily assert that what you think you are, you are. Yeah? So it's with logic to challenge the way we so quickly have accepted the way we are. Because in that challenging, we might find a freedom from those addictions of thought. And also with logic, we might find a deeper or truer reason why good things happen to us in the first place. So with that, I'd like to lead you in a meditation where I'm just going to ask you to consider one main habit that we're then hopefully going to smash with what we start today, or reassert with what we learned today. Is that cool? So just take a comfortably seated position. It's only going to be short. So I invite you to quickly get into settle your body down so it doesn't move. Forget that it's there. Bring your awareness to the edges of the room. All your worries, leave it outside. Any distractions that your mind would like to attach itself to, just incorporate them into your perception, your part of the meditation, and watch them come and go. Do a quick scan of your body, releasing any tension, making sure your spine is straight. A slight pull up towards the crown of your head and strongly grounded at your cushion. And just simply drop everything else and bring your mind to your breath. Just observe, without control, how your body is breathing. See the sensations of your chest rising and falling, the air entering and exiting your nostril. Maybe the sensation of air through your nasal passage and out. Whatever it takes, just bring your mind to your breath, naturally, without control, just observing. See if you can bring your attention slightly tighter into an aspect of the breath that you're watching. Meaning if you're focusing on the sensation of the air entering and exiting your nostril, just see if you can get that point finer. So it's really sharp and clear, the sensations that you're observing. Anything that is not that just drops out. If your mind wanders, be happy you caught it and return. I'd like to invite you to think back at the earliest memory you have of being a child. What we're looking here is the purest state of mind you can remind yourself as a child, you can remember. An innocence with a bright awe for understanding the world around you. This can be a direct memory or a memory of a memory, doesn't matter. See if you can imagine yourself as a child, observe yourself, and experience your mind completely innocent, unknowing what the world around you is, and open to every possibility, a joy in seeking understanding. Like a new explorer on a brand new planet. See if you can sense the tension between your mind as it is now, wanting to hold on to the identity of who you think you are right now, and letting go of all that to a moment where perhaps you didn't have such ingrained thoughts about who you were. As a child, you didn't know what you would look like at this age, what you would think like at this age. And as a child, you would observe the current you with intrigue and an interest to understand it. See if you can bring that kind of attention, that child's mind, into your current experience of you without judgment. Observe the current you. All that it is. In that searching, see if your current state of mind is wanting to hide or shy away from being seen in certain ways. And also see if your current mind has some genuine joy about being certain ways. Maybe it's your capacity to think, your capacity to have friends, your depth of inquiry, whatever it is that your current state tells you you're great at. Show that to that child. Whatever it is that you think holds you back, whatever the negative reoccurring patterns, show that to that child. From that child's mind, imagine that having seen these two extremes, these two possibilities, and all the grey in between, imagine that they can make different choices, ones that allow them more happiness and less suffering as they grow. And imagine them growing. Imagine their minds and hearts avoiding certain patterns and taking advantage of other tendencies, so their lives are fuller, their minds are sharper, they know just what to do. Imagine they grow until they surpass your current age. They get older than you. Imagine them developing even greater qualities as they get older still. And at some point, imagine them being so clear about the way their world works, that they have some deep insight into reality. That lifts all burdens from their lives, gives them an unstained freedom to the way they are. And they feel a kind of inner peace that's rare in this world. So imagine that older you, that perfected older you, now seated in front of you. Imagine they lean towards you and their foreheads touch your foreheads, transferring their insight to you. And then gently with your breath, withdraw the whole image into the core of your heart, so it sits there as a bright, small flame, a bright light. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that was meditation. Now that you've got that state of mind, however you took that, just do a quick traditional to do a quick offering so we can get really strong learnings, and then we'll do a refuge.
Sachi Buddhi Drishi Metocham Riva Vichi Lingvedam Pardi Sangye Shindu Mite Luargi Dravunanga Shiva Jupasho Idam Buddhakamandala Kamyatayami Sangye Shivam Sogi Jurnamla Yamshu Badu Dakni Yapsuchi Dati Shinyeng Dipesonam Ki Drola Vanchir Sangye Drupasho Sangye Shivam Sogi Shognam La Yamshu Badu Dakni Japsuchi Dati Shinyeng Dipesonam Ki Drola Vanchir Sangye Drupasho Sangye Shivam Sogi Shognam La Yamshu Badu Dakni Gyapsuchi Dati Shinyeng Dipesonam Ki Vanchir Sangye Drupasho.
Beautiful, thank you. That was a nice start. So, welcome everybody. Let's do a quick review. I really want to make sure that we walk away with something meaningful and applicable, just like the introduction, where I want to apply it to whatever you meditated on, things that stop you from being happy, things that make you happy, yeah, things you're good at, and ideas about yourself that don't function for you. Let's use the stuff we'll learn to figure out where our mistake is about those assumptions. But before we go there, the reason we're studying this, let's see somebody quickly now, it's your turn if you've studied any of this, give me the main reason. Study the art of reasoning. Why? Give me a reason for studying the art of reasoning.
To truly internalize the Dharma and carry it with you as an...
That's a really nice way to truly internalize the Dharma or the teachings of the Buddha, so it becomes your teachings. It's to prove it to yourself, right? To have some method of understanding it, not just intellectually but viscerally, and have an ultimate experience called the direct experience of emptiness, or the direct experience that things are not the way we think they are. Yeah? Cool. Class 2, we outlined all existing things, and this matrix becomes really useful the deeper we go into what we're studying. So give me a really quick summary of how Tibetans have, or Buddhists throughout time have divided all things, everything.
Changing.
So we have all things as the main umbrella, yeah? And they then divide those things into things that are changing, fluctuating, yeah? And things that are unchanging, stable, yeah? They have some qualities which I don't want to go into now, but I will next time, yeah? Which I put up on the board, like some qualities, like they both can have a start, and even an unchanging thing, and an end, right? The difference is the unchanging is stable throughout its beginning and its end. The changing thing is unstable. It goes up and down, it grows, it then gets small, yeah? So it's, our terminology has to be reframed. And this is true for all these things we're studying. We're coming at this with our Western prejudice of understanding the world. That is what we're breaking. So you're going to have a problem, yeah? And you should have a problem, and if you're having a problem, then you're breaking something, right? And then you need a solid foundation. You shouldn't accept anything this is saying, anything the Buddha said, anything I'm saying, without you proving it to yourself. But to do that, you need other tools other than the ones you currently have if you're coming from a Western prejudice view. These Eastern views give you tools to look at the world, the same world you're living in, right? It's not going to magically change. You're not going to have Himalaya mountains popping up behind the Empire State Building, yeah? Like, it's true, we try to synthesize things like that. Our minds give us silly ideas. The point of this class is to break those silly ideas. So this course is giving you new tools. Learn that structure of all existing things. Even if some of it seems weird to you, the terminology isn't good for us because we have different terminology. Changing, unchanging, permanent, impermanent. Whatever word we use, it's not the word, it's the concept behind it, which we have to learn. So then give me some categories in changing things. Tapas.
Physical thing. Physical thing.
You have physical things and then mental things. Yeah? And here, if you've done a previous course, you understand that cause and effect apply equally to those two things. Things have a cause and then they have an effect, right? Including your mind. We produce stuff in the world, in the Western world. One of our prejudices is cause and effect applies to physical matter. Yeah? Even light. Yeah? But not our minds, not my thoughts, not consciousness, not feelings. That somehow that whole set of reality, which is way bigger than everything else, really gets excluded. Yeah. So that's like the first aha moment when you enter these ideas. You go, hold on, everything about the way I'm sensing who I am, everything about the way I'm conceptualizing who I am, everything about the way I'm interpreting data that's coming through the senses, all that mental stuff is also caused. And if we understand how cause and effect works in there, on what basis, what are some of the rules, how does it work, just like we know how to farm, we might be able to farm the way our minds construct and experience this illusion, this reality that functions really well, right? To make it function even better. Okay, so we talked a lot about that, physical, mental, blah, 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 but that's a good summary. And then on class 3 we talked about the basics of debate, which I'm going to get to with you, and the door to emptiness, which was the concept of Chi Chedra, which was explained in normal terms, in
general and specific.
General and specific, or
Quality and characteristic.
a quality and characteristic of that quality. Yeah, a ness, car ness, clock ness, person ness. Things have that quality. Yeah, they're things are characteristic of that quality, which is a deeper way of looking at it. You can look at it subsets. That's good to get it started, but the way it's going to help you to break through the veil of reality is to think of it as quality and characteristic of that quality. Something has a nature, a ness to it, and then that's how we label our worlds. Yeah, there's a clockness about that. There's a picturesque about that picture, and that ness, we grab that ness wherever it is and we assign it to that one object that holds, that is characteristic of that ness or that nature. Yeah, understanding that is the key to experiencing the ultimate of all prizes, which is to unveil the way reality truly exists, which is not the way we experience it. So Chi refers to the name quality, and I can't read it from here because my eyes are a little shot. What's the, yes I can, that existing thing which subsumes this multiple things which are of its type, for you to try and have words around it, right? That's a Chi, and there's 3 types of Chi, you can remember that. There's a general Rik Chi, which is a type, or yeah. Then there are Dun Chi, which has 3 parts in it, which is the thing we want to go look at. This is the stuff, we're going to look at this Chi. It's the stuff that you're going to see your mind constructing your reality with. Yeah? And then just grab it and put it in your pocket, because then we're going to move on to other things today, and we'll use that next time as well. And then the last chi was just a Sok chi.
Physical numbers. No.
Yeah, it's just like parts of a whole. Yeah, so a chi might be the cup, but the parts of it are this and the paint outside and the bottom or whatever. It's not as relevant as the second one. Let's see if we got it right. Did I click on something? Not yet. Yep, cool. And the Dunchi, which is the important thing, which is different to a Drachi. Do you remember a Drachi?
Yeah.
Which was a different one?
If you have a recollection of something directly, it's a Dunchi. If it's indirectly,
Right.
as in
So
you saw it
Dunchi,
through it.
mostly it's a mental image that pops up, right? So Stephen and I Stephen hadn't been to Paris until last week. Yeah, you had a Drachi of the Eiffel Tower, meaning an indirect, an image of the Eiffel Tower, either seen on TV, postcards or something. And last week, when you think Eiffel Tower now, you have a Dunchi, something you've had a direct perception of, rather than indirect. So you understand the difference between those? You don't have to remember them because you'll have access to them. But what I want you to get is that it's a deeper way of considering how our mind is working. Right? Until this class, or until I learned these concepts, I didn't know my mind had a different way of perceiving a picture of Uluru, which is do you know, who knows what Uluru is? It's that big red rock in the middle of Australia, right? The dingo ate my baby. Yeah, that one.
Oh, Ayers Rock. Right?
Thank you. Ayers Rock. So I only have a Drachi, a mental picture of not the real thing, but of what I perceive to be Ayers Rock. Yeah, those who have been to Ayers Rock, Uluru, they have a Dunchi of it. Yeah, and our minds are forever producing these mental images, these Dunchis or Drachis, and we tend to mistake the image for reality, and then all our emotions and all our content are attached to that image, and it happens so quickly that we think we're living in reality. In fact, we're reacting only to these mental images mostly. Yeah. So that's why it's important. That's why that yellow line is important. The rest is just information. And the last one you said was Tsokchi, yeah, which is a physical collection of parts. And then Jedrak, so that's chi, the idea of chi, yeah, and Jedrak is something that's characteristic of that chi, yeah. A Jedrak is something that's characteristic of that chi. So something begins to hint at you, because you see at this bottom part here that it might be one of those paintings, yeah, but you can't see the whole bloody thing, right? And then once you start framing this, not that you do it consciously, your eye just looked at it, yeah, your mind started going, oh, that's that, you've already assigned it, and you have a very clear image of what that is. Now the way we do that with everything. You do that with your feelings, you do that with your thoughts, you do that about your friends, you do that about what you're having for dinner, you're doing about why you're growing old, you're doing about why you're dying, you're doing that about why you don't get what you want, yeah? And understanding that will release you. First of all, you've got to get used to thinking about things that way. After you get used to it, you get a little bit more technical, or you can appear a little crazy to your friends because you're talking different things to what most people are talking about. But then it begins to free you from the bonds of reacting to the world in the way you normally engage with it. So that's why these things are important. They're addressing those things that bind us and those things that can free us. And then there were a few other things that we needed to talk about for those. So there are 4 schools to Buddhist thought. We're on the second school, the logic school. But we are, as a whole, the course is studying it from the highest school, inverted commas, the Prasangika, Majjhimika Prasangika, the school of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It's just a slightly, technically different way of interpreting the same thing, the Buddhist teachings. each one leads to a more sophisticated understanding of the other. The highest view of the term dependent origination, and you have to do the link here between what we're talking about, Junchis, and dependent origination, okay, is the highest view of dependent origination in terms of Madhyamika Prasangika means name and term, thought and name, yeah? And there lies the clue between understanding Chi, Jedra, the way our minds so quickly label things. Where did those labels come from? Why do our minds project that image? And image doesn't just mean physical or visual image, okay? The image of who I am, yeah? Your whole identity, we call that an image too, yeah? Your mind is creating this picture of who you are, yeah? Inverted commas, picture. Where did they come from? They were arising, but dependent on what, yeah? So then, in the highest school, we say it's dependent on name and form, or name and term, which is the thought and then the label. So then I asked you to start considering, when you're looking at things, start considering between the ness, the chi of something, and a particular something. How is it that we begin to label things in relation to these qualities and characteristics, things that are characteristic of that quality? And that is the review. Anybody got a headache? Sleeping yet? Cool. Today we're talking about cause and effect, which is what we started talking about until Javier interrupted the class last week.
Whatever.
Isn't
that a merit to my question?
You know, it was great. It was amazing. Yeah. The week before last, sorry. But let's get some ideas in there, okay? Let's see what I've got to share with you. We did this already, right? Gyundre, which is cause result. Gyun, cause, dre, results. We're studying the Dura. Do you remember what the Dura was?
Collection of logic.
Huh?
Collection of
Logic texts,
Yeah.
right? And there are several, but we're studying two, and we're getting to talk about one of the shorter ones, the simplest ones. We're getting these ideas from that, okay? Which implies there are deeper ideas for those of you who are really interested. I'm not one of those. Well, because at some point, this is just one piece of the puzzle, yeah? And when you get that piece of the puzzle, you begin applying it to the other pieces around it. And there's something about bringing those pieces together. Then you can get depth of color or into the picture you're forming. So at some level, just an introduction is good enough to begin to link this to the idea of karma, this to the idea of emptiness, yeah? This to the idea of virtue, this to the idea of tantra, this, etc., etc., right? So you're just getting pieces, so don't freak out if it's too many words that are too many words. So in the Dura, in the shorter Dura, we're covering the idea of cause and effect, and there's a definition of a cause, which is anything which brings about something else, yeah? Often translated as generate, but we want to say cause because you don't generate love, you know, for example, like generate something. That's just so when you're reading text you can know what they came from. And then here is the first thing. In the Dura, these words are synonymous. So cause is a synonym for result, it's a synonym for cinnamon. It's a cinnamon. I know, it's a sediment for working thing. Yeah, and we began that discussion last week a little bit. I'm just going to give it to you to chew on, because the words are different, right? Cause, result, functioning thing or working thing. But in this presentation of your world, if you're a cause, you are necessarily a result. If you're a result, you're necessarily a working thing and a cause. Yeah, and it can get weird to think about things like that. And that's the idea.
You explained how we intuitively believe that or understand that deeply.
I don't think I did.
Oh.
Or can I, you mean?
I'm having trouble with it. Like, how does it cause and effect? To me, I mean, I can see, okay, everything's like a stream, one after the
Yeah,
other,
like
right?
that. It should lead you to thinking of things like that. So when you look at, when you study karma, ACI 5, right? This you can apply to that too, right? You say, well, what is karma? Yeah, so karma is what? Definition?
The movement of the mind.
Movement of the mind, okay? Does the movement of the mind happen without cause?
No.
No,
So is it an effect or a cause?
Well,
both.
No, come on, give me one or the other.
it's an effect.
Okay.
We're talking about the cause.
In fact, down the car.
It's an effect cause.
Okay. Does it function? Does it work to do something?
Yes.
Okay. So just use it for that for now. Yeah? Now, a classic example, I think everybody gets crazy in the Dura where there's all this, by the way, if you read reading 2, sorry, you shouldn't have. Because all it is, it's logical arguments presented by different schools, and halfway through the middle you get the Prasangika answer, the correct answer. So really the first half of the reading is just confusing. And then in the middle you get the logical statement that gives an answer. And it was never designed to be read like all the other courses we've done. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a koan. Yeah, koan, Zen koan. Yeah, like what's the sound of one hand clapping? Yeah, it's supposed to stay in your mind and for your mind to grip onto it and try and get a sense of what it means. Yeah. So let's leave that for now so I can get to it. Sorry. Yeah, but enjoy it. I was going somewhere in the Dura, in this thing, that were explained that once you say these things, that a result is also a cause. It's a working thing. Then you begin, people in the Dura start, in one of the readings will start saying things like, how can that be? How can that possibly be? For example, take one of the arguments, I think was, take the very last moment of a butter lamp, yeah, as is extinguishing, so it's finishing, right? How can it be a cause for something if it was just a result of being a butter lamp, and then it just, the last thing just finished being a butter lamp?
Cause for darkness.
Yeah, well, you can't, technically you can't quite say that, right? But you can say it's a cause for the perception of darkness. Okay. If you think about it. You need light and darkness. Okay. But see if that pushes your button. I wanted to push your button. You're not going to get an answer from me that solves your problems. I'm going to give you problems to solve your answers.
That's not what we're here for, Hector.
You're here for problems. We got that? Yeah? Can you repeat that after me? What's a cause?
Anything
The result.
anything that brings about something.
Great. Is that still up there?
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay. What else do I tell you? Let me give you a couple of different types of courses found in the Dura. Okay? Can you see the cloud?
Yeah.
I think this was your objection, Cliff. And I think I didn't explain it right last class, so I went back and I looked at it again so I can give you a bit more. Nalok Sujawa. 2 divisions of courses in this text. How is this relevant to you before we go there? What's the definition of a course now that it's not up? Okay, good. A synonym for it is?
Result.
Or?
Working
Function.
things.
Okay, good. How is it relevant to you, to the 2 things you were meditating on? I was talking about cause and effect relevant to helping you get happier.
I think it's relevant because we think of cause and effect as so concrete and so out there.
Yeah.
And then if you realize actually it's my mind that's labeling something a cause or an effect, quote unquote.
Great.
More power.
It brings you all of a sudden back in control, yeah, rather than you're at the whim of some cause and effect. Like I think we tend to think in the West that Big Bang happened. My language is disappearing.
Better than.
Yeah. Big Bang happened, and then I'm just here for the ride until it's done. That was the cause, and then that's it. Very little control within that. Yeah.
But we can also imagine our future enlightenment and think of the causes. We can sort of go both directions.
Beautiful, thank you. Beautiful. So how would imagining something help me if I don't understand Buddhism?
Well, in a way, we're already there. I mean, to perceive something, it's like in that moment we are experiencing it, whether it's a memory or an imagination.
So what does that do? That I'm still an old, fat, not blonde person.
Or like habituation.
Huh?
It would be a cause for creating that habit, seeing that.
Nice. So you got some Buddhist education in you, so you're saying that's a cause for creating a habit, right? And what's the habit going to do? I mean, I've got some bad habits. And crickets. Huh?
Well, I think it allows you to understand whatever is happening. It's your choice.
Great. At some point it was, right? It might not be your choice right now, but at some point,
I think even that
which is where they were going. Yeah. And right now, if you have the choice of choice, yeah, to whatever degree you have, that's also a choice. Yeah. Cool.
Isn't it also like planting seeds
Yeah.
to ripen in the future?
Lovely. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. New way of thinking, trying to get not literal seeds, right? We're not talking literal seeds, right? You don't have seeds in your head. Sorry, Paul. Just clarifying. No, I'm doing that on purpose because at least my mind has this stupid capacity to group things into a nice little statement that then I hold to be true all the time, and I stop questioning and stop observing with a clarity and a vividness that is required to break out of a habitual pattern that is living without purpose or living without question. To live with question is to be truly alive, to be truly engaged. But that requires engagement and so on. So I was just saying that stupid statement to break myself free. So let's go direct and indirect, which is, I think, what we were talking about. Did the cloud disappear already?
It's moving.
It is on.
I have a very different cloud thing over here. So I don't think I had the Naloksujjoa, yeah, which is the previous moment. Remember I said pen, here's the pen, what's the direct cause for the pen? And I said, it's the very previous moment of pen. And you went, what the hell? And this is what Naloksujjoa is in this text. Yeah, it's like you have to say, just like the cloud, as you saw it just then, the very previous moment of that cloud was its direct cause for being the cloud that you saw at the beginning. Does that make sense? And then you have an indirect cause. This is one way explained in this Dura, the indirect cause, which is Naloksujjoa, which is the previous moment. The thing that flopped over into cloud was directly the previous moment of cloud. Flopped over Naloksujjoa into cloud, into that cloud, yeah? And what was its indirect cause? Well, it was
Previous moment of
the previous moment of the previous moment, yeah? So the previous moment of the previous moment of...
Is this second school thinking? Like we're not supposed to be thinking medium term right now?
Correct, yeah, for now, yeah? But we will, we will. No, but this helps you as well. This also helps you debate with that school
Right.
and other people debating. And the reason I chose cloud as an example is because it's easy to see how if you Naloksujjoa 13 times, yeah? No, see, that they do this in debating. They go, what's the Naloksujjoa of the Naloksujjoa of the Naloksujjoa of the Naloksujjoa? And Geshe Degree was saying, you have to remember whether it's odd or even, and then there's some method of figuring out which of the two you answer, right? I don't know that because I don't debate like he's debated, but you remember whether it's odd or even, and you sit there as you go. he wanted the 13th or the 12th course of the current course. Yeah, he wanted the 12th indirect course, and then you go back.
But how do you even answer that?
I don't know. No, but what I'm saying is there is a method to the art of debating that uses a logical understanding that the current thing you're experiencing flopped over to that thing by its very immediate previous moment, and that flopped over into its immediate previous moment. And how is that useful for us? Well, there's a couple of things. Yeah, there's a couple of things too, because at some point that cloud ain't cloud, right? And that cloud is evaporation, and that evaporation is water, and the ocean, and that ocean is river, and that river is moisture in the ground, and that moisture in the ground is rain, and that rain is cloud, and that cloud is not cloud. At some point, if you acknowledge Sujua enough, you get to see the stream nature of existence. When then you add the higher view of where that thing is coming from, then you have an opening experience about this universe. Yeah. So I'm just suggesting that one of the two divisions of courses is direct and indirect. You got that? Yeah. I'm dumping that in there. You play with it. You trouble. You bash it together. And what doesn't work, put it in that heavy shelf that you can fight with later.
But you're saying, if I understand you, there's no existing point when it flops over. It's not like a point that exists that flops over. It's just merely.
There is.
No, I think, isn't it just your mind?
That's the point.
Sees it at that particular point.
That's the point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just the mind creates that.
And then you're prasangika. Then you're dependent origination. This is what I was implying.
Right.
I didn't want to get that heavy, but if you're saying that, which is true, right? Objectively, without my mental projection, there is no objective moment where that cloud was not cloud or was water.
Or you could say there's no cause and effect without that.
Correct. There's prasangika. Prasangika is that.
Okay.
Because you require a naming and term.
Madhamika.
Yeah, Madhyamika. Yeah. You're requiring that on that image of whatever the fluffiness wasn't fluffiness, or if you want a simpler one, the seed that turns into a sprout that turns into a tree.
I think that's an
easier one, right? But there's debates in there, and there's still debates going on about the Nasatura. That at what point is the seedling not a seed? Right?
You decide in your mind that it's not.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
And it's not that I'm sitting there going, now I'm deciding.
Yeah.
At some point, your Dunchi or Drachi is saying,
right, it clicks. Yeah.
The Dunchi is saying, it's a sprout. It was a seed, and now it's a sprout.
Right.
Yeah? And then in the debate, in the actual reading, you'll see people going, you can say that the part that is no longer the seed is the sprout, and the part that is no longer the sprout is the seed, and so it's a seed sprout. You know, but you can get heady about this. But I want you to remember the point of it. The point is to free your mind. You're gripping onto reality in a way that it doesn't exist. Yeah, because you went straight to Madhyamika, right? Prasangika, Madhyamika, Prasangika. You went straight into, which is what you were implying. At some point, my mind just calls it that. And that's the true meaning of dependent origination. And that's ultimately the only way things exist.
But second school isn't saying that. Second school is
No, it's like, and then you get a whole bunch of Hinayana schools that are really beautifully going into that way of looking at the interdependence of all things. But then linking that into how does that free my mind is another story.
I was just doing that with my almond butter.
Don't do it for too long, because then you're going to anyway.
When you eat something, to recognize where it comes from, how it came to you, and then to recognize that you're projecting where it came from and how it came to you, and just being very present with the whole thing.
Nice.
Where's going?
So, what was that?
That's right.
That's where I was. Into the future with that one. Because we'll end up talking about my favorite subject, which is poo. So,
Can I just quickly say something? I think I said this last time, but somebody reminded me, and it was so brilliant. It was somebody I met at the Tibet House recently, that we forget that our body is not an object, it is a process.
yeah, nice. Thank you for that. Something about Ngalotsu Jua, and you do that enough times. I jumped you straight there in the meditation, but there's a meditation that you do where you grab where your mind is right now and you look for its direct cause. What brought my mind to have these thoughts right now? You go to a previous moment of mind. You go, what brought that mind? Right? And you bring that all the way back to your very first memory of being alive. And you practice that meditation all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, until you begin to, if you get good at it, you begin to crash into the moment where your mind had its first perceptions in this life. And then you flip over into a previous. They say that at a certain point in your spiritual development, you get this kind of experience, having a direct memory of teachings you've had from teachers before this life, where you come to a point where you have this experience of recollection of deep teachings you've had or connections you've had with teachers, Dharma you've had in times before this life. They say that comes at some point before the virtue of singing.
How would we know if that was a drachi or a donichi?
Yeah.
Maybe we're just imagining I remember
Yeah.
the first experience of this life.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something that Leah said a couple of classes ago about that postcard.
Yeah.
And if we actually walked into the Sydney Opera House, when does that actually become a postcard in our mind instead of the actual experience, the direct experience and things too, you know?
That is also a postcard.
Yeah.
No, that experience is also a labeling by your mind.
Yeah.
Sorry. That the experience of whether or not I'm having a dunchi or a drachi, yeah.
That's honestly a very good place to be, I think,
Playing,
pondering.
yeah.
Because that'll end you up in a pretty remarkable spot. Because how about the other memories that you know are real?
Yeah.
How real are those now?
Yeah, the don't go falling off cliff. Yeah. I don't. So that's one of the two ways that cause is discussed in the Dura is direct and indirect cause. Do you got that?
Yes.
Yeah, give it to me with that reading. What's
Previous moment.
okay, good. Thank you. And then the next one is Nerlingikyu and contributing factor, right? Another way that cause and effect are discussed is material cause and contributing factors, which is predominantly used in the proof of future lives, yeah, which we did in course 4, yeah. Here is the definition of material cause, Nerlingikyu, which is link number 10 over there for the thing that flops into a future existence, yeah. Anything that brings about a working thing primarily as a continuation of the same material. Like the seed is for the tree, like the clay is for the pot, like your mind is for your mind. Yeah? And an interesting thing to break away from our Western bias that we think somehow mind came from nowhere, or somehow we think mind came from sperm and egg from mom and dad, yeah? Or that your consciousness, the stream of all the thoughts and emotions that are who you think you are, is if you apply cause and effect, Nerlingikyu, right, the thing that flops over into, another way of talking about it other than principle, then direct and indirect cause is principal cause and contributing factor. A nice way to explain that is you take the sprout idea, or the seed becomes a tree, or seed becomes a plant, right? But then a plant requires sunshine and earth and all these other things, including seed, to be a thing. So which, if you're looking at this division, which is the contributing factor and which is the principal cause? Someone?
Direct is the seed, and then all the other stuff is...
Yeah, the material cause, the thing that flops over in this explanation, is the seed. Why?
Because you could take away the rain or the sunshine, and just have dirt in one or the other, and you might end up with a tree. But you can't have sunshine, rain, and earth with no seed and get a tree.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, if you take away a little bit of sunshine or a lot of sunshine, no, you can still have a crappy tree. Yeah? But as soon as you take away seed, ain't no tree coming. You can take away the potter, you can take away the kiln, you can take away whatever, but as soon as you take away clay, ain't no pot coming. Yeah? So it's that way of looking at it. Here comes the summary of ACI 4, Proof of Future Lives, where this is the main proof. Now, why do we need this? Because this is ammunition to debate with, okay? Why do we need the direct and indirect, the non-sujua? Because that's ammunition to debate with, yeah? So the summary of the reincarnation, material cause, and contributing factors.
Is that a lower school idea as well, material cause?
Yeah, it's in the Dura, yeah.
But I'm saying, can you put name and term and argue that that's still just a
well, it depends
well?
who you're debating with. Yeah, so at some point, we'll get to when you can put name and term with. Yeah, when we get to the end of class, because the number one rule of debate is you can only use ideas that the opponent already accepts, just haven't put them together yet. Yeah, so if they don't accept name and term, you have to dial back, and go to some level where you meet their understanding, and then bring them together until you get them to name and term. Yeah. So like you said about the seed for the tree, take away the seed, you can still have all the contributing factors, no tree coming. Yeah? Or you take away some of the contributing factors or minimize them, you could still get a tree. Yeah? Same we said with the potter, right? Here is the clincher for your mind, the proof that your mind was here before you experienced it in this life as this mind. Yeah? That if one debate is that your mind came from a little bit of your mum's mind and a little bit of your dad's mind, right? And if that were true, then kind and gentle parents' minds would always produce kind and gentle minds of children, right? Because the definition, anything which brings about a working thing primarily as a continuation of the same material, the same stuff with the same quality. So it's not necessarily true that kind parents make kind children, or artistically challenged parents make artistically challenged children. You know,
you get that little part of that mind and that little.
You get a yellow mind and a red mind, and you get orange mind. That's what your argument is.
No, my argument is that not, and just for the sake of argument, right? I understand where that comes from, but not everybody who is kind is only kind.
That's
True. Yeah.
The mind.
So maybe
You're arguing DNA of mind. Yeah,
right. That's my argument.
So they got these curves. We can debate that.
Well,
Let's. No. Let's
Yes.
not. Really no. We got that? Principal cause, material cause, and contributing factors, or
Relationships.
yeah, that's because I speak English. Do you remember the two divisions of causes? Is it there? Yeah,
Material cause and contributing.
He's testing it.
No, I'm not. My computer is frozen.
Is it true that a material cause could also be a direct or indirect cause? So it's like a subset of that?
Nice question. You could say that the contributing factor of sunshine had a direct an indirect cause of the previous moment of sunshine. Is that what you're asking? But it doesn't really help you. But I mean, you can go and do those combinations. I don't think I'm clever enough to do that. And B, the point I'm trying to get to is level 1 of getting enough ammunition to be able to debate. I've got no idea why I can't click on things at the moment.
We're like stuck in the same slide. Relation
hips. Yeah, here we go. Cool, here we go. We made it. Damn, this is just doing anything it wants. Yep. So, 3 possible ways 2 objects can relate to each other. Let's do number 3 first. They're completely unrelated. Okay? So that's a way that they relate to each other.
Yeah.
Okay? But number 1 and 2, they can share a relationship of identity as car is to Chevrolet. In other words, the stuff we learned about Chi, Chedrak. 2 objects can have a relationship of identity. Yeah? Does that make sense? In terms of a car is a Chevrolet, or a clock and a watch are timepieces. Yeah? So they can have those kind of relationships, or they can have a relationship of causation. The 2 types of causations which is covered, right? Direct and indirect, or principal and contributing factors. Are we happy there? There's a lot of words, I know, but the concepts that are behind the words are the things I want you to try and get. We can think about how things come about, how 2 unrelated objects can be contrasted, if you like, because this will help us break down our assumptions as to why I'm broke, or why I'm lonely, or why I'm fat, or why I'm not blonde, or why, yeah? And all the things that drive our behavior. The deeper we get down there with all this ammunition, the more we can break down the assumptions that keep us locked in suffering or can lead us to freedom. Does that make sense? Say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Really? Do you need a break or no? Let me finish this and then we can have a quick break. You understand that, let's say, left eyebrow and right eyebrow. Yeah? Or my eyebrow and Stephen's eyebrow. 2 unrelated topics. Yeah? Or are they 2 objects of the universe? My eyebrow and the Buddha. Yeah?
Okay.
Any 2 objects at all can share 3 types of relationship. Number 1, no relationship at all. Yeah, they're not related whatsoever. Number 2, they share a relationship of identity. They could, yeah, which is.
Being one is to be.
What was it?
Being one means you're the other.
Could be being one. That's a.
Right? Like.
They share an identity relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean to be. That's one way. That's a one-way relationship. To be one isn't necessarily to be another. Yeah, good.
A category and a subset of the
Great,
category.
cool. You can share that, or you can share a relationship of causality. Right? This is here because that was there. Yeah. This is here. Produce that. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Identity can be said to have a one or a 2-way relationship. Relationships of identity can be 1-way or 2-way. In other words, do you remember the test if something was a Jedrak or not? Do you remember one of the main tests, which was? If you remove one,
took away the chi, and
all the Jedraks would disappear, right?
Right.
So let's take away car or carnes, yeah? Could there be anything that we label car?
No.
No, right? So you remove car, and you couldn't, and all the Chevrolets are gone, yeah? As are all the Fords and Camrys.
Hondas or whatever.
Right? But what if you took away all the Camrys? Are all the cars gone?
No.
So that's said to have a 1-way relationship. Yeah? That can get tricky when debating. Let's not go there for now. Yeah? But what about automobile and car? those two objects, do they have a relationship of identity?
Yes.
Yes.
What do they share? Same, right? Do they have a one-way or a two-way relationship?
Two-way.
Two-way. Great, you got it. Yeah, you're all very clever. And cause and effect, unless you're Majjhimika Prasangika, right?
We're ready to
I know. But we're just starting the thing, right? It's great that you go there naturally. It's beautiful, right? So unless you're really clever and really sneaky, just plainly looking, it's just plainly explaining, cause and effect are said to have a one-way relationship, right? Because you have the seed, yeah, and it produces a tree. Yeah, it's going this way. Yeah? Except you could say trees produce seeds, but they didn't produce that seed. Right? And then you can get really clever and go, hold on, I'm a Prasangika, right? It gets deeper. It goes, you can't ever have a tree at the same time as you have a seed, because here comes the emptiness of causation, right? Because as soon as something became a seed, a tree, the cause has disappeared. That you can't have a seed when the tree is here. It necessarily means it's disappeared, right? And then if you add name and term,
But can't you still
you, just by relationship to name and term, how could anything be called a result of something that isn't a cause? Yeah?
How could anything be called
labeled a result, the tree being a result, if you don't label the seed a cause? So you can remove tree and seeds will still be there.
Yeah.
But then how can it be a seed of a tree if no tree ever came from it? You know, so then it becomes a name and
It's a cause
term.
for a tree if it hasn't caused a tree yet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nothing to do with the future seed. It has to do with the seed itself, not the
seed. Yeah, but what's a seed? What's a seed? What's a cause? What's the definition of a cause?
You can't have the result without the cause. So you have to have both. If you took one away, the other one wouldn't exist.
Exactly, but then when you look at millisecond by millisecond, you can always divide it, and at some point you have to say your mind projects it. Without your projection, I didn't want to get there. Yeah? Without your projection, it can't be labeled a cause if there wasn't an effect coming from that cause. Yeah, and at some point your mind naturally labels the seed disappearing and it becoming a tree. They can't coexist. Yeah, it's a long debate, and it's in there as well. But it's great that you went there. We just need to get the summary of what we need to have in our minds to be able to play debate, right, with our own problems, so we can fix them. Yeah. So we learned a whole bunch of things so far. What did we learn? What's Chi Jedrak? Chi Jedrak.
Characteristic and quality.
Why is that important? Why is that important?
Because that's how we label our...
Because our minds are creating these duchis, right? These main qualities. This quality of car, quality of person, or quality of fatso, or quality of ugliness, or quality of brokenness. And then we're labeling this uncharacteristic of that one. Right? It's happening like that. Yeah? If we know that it's not the way we normally think about it, that it's some product of the way our minds are functioning, and then we go into the way our minds function through debating and break up the three components of a debate, which is consider Hector, the subject. Yeah? Here comes the assertion, the thing to be proven. Right? He's a loser. Right? Then the third component, the reason, right? Because he never wins at anything, or whatever, yeah?
Because he's not blue-eyed.
Because he's not blue-eyed, thank you. Or because he eats too many burritos, yeah. No, but our minds do these silly connections, right? Then, with all the other ammunition that we just gave it, right? Are things having relationships between each other through identity, or are they having relationships through cause and effect? And we can understand how cause and effect is understood, how we understand cause and effect, and how we understand identity of relationships, and how we understand all existing things. All those are tools for trying to break the misconnections, the mistakes in that logical thinking. Yeah, ultimately, You can prove to yourself why this world is an illusion, why you're the creator of this illusion, and why you can break free from this illusion and truly have an experience of freedom. The mind that you have right now is not confined to being what it is. It is a changing thing. Logically, it can change to be worse. Logically, it can change to be better. Logically, if it can change to be better, it can change to be better, better. Logically, if it can change to be better, better, it can be better, best. Yeah? And it can be perfect. And we don't believe that. So we go and break that until we believe it. And there's lots of methods, all these practices to do that, right? Like imagining yourself as a future Buddha. What happens? You really are there. You're playing with the technology of mind, creating the drachi of what will become a duchi when your mind labels it. And then you use all the powerful tools of making strong karma, of understanding how karma happens. But logic is the very foundation of all these practices. All these practices without logic will take you a certain depth. With logic, you'll go deeper. Then you practice at that depth and you get realizations that are profound. With that, let's take a break. Be back at 9 o'clock. Yay! I nearly finished the class. What are the three components?
Subject.
The subject matter, which we always go, consider Hector, consider the trees, consider sky.
The assertion.
Then the assertion. And this is the thing we want to prove to someone else. Yeah? This is the thing that is in doubt, the assertion. Yeah? Consider Hector. He is healthy.
Because he looks so
I did it with compassion.
Good answer.
I'll tell the cop.
Thank you. So there's always the subject, right? So as he stands up and gets ready to whack me, he's like, he's trying to convince me of something, and he'll have a subject in mind, which we all do. This is how we think. Then we have some kind of assertion about that subject, something he wants to prove to me, yeah, or he wants me to disprove him. So I'll go, and then we give a reason, yeah, for that assertion. And we've talked about that. Sometimes you follow it through with an example, like such and such. Yeah, consider such. It is this because blah. Blah thinks so. Blah. Make sense? No.
Yeah.
Consider. Let's do a. So this is called a logical argument. It has these parts. It's not because it's correct. It's just a logical argument. It follows the rules of logic, yeah, of Eastern logic. It's presented in a logical format. It doesn't mean it's correct. Okay. Today we're going to talk about correct and incorrect reasons or logical logical statements. So let me dump in your minds some new concepts. Put aside the ammunition we have, because you'll need to use that later. A tak is a reason, yeah, but it also applies to the reason in that logical statement. The word tak also means that entire statement, subject, assertion, and reason. That's a tak, yeah. Or it also refers to, yeah, thanks to Tibetan language, right? It also refers to what the reason is referring to, yeah? So the substance of a reason, if you like. In example, here we have a tak which we had consider sound. Do you remember that? It's a changing thing because it's made. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Great. So a tak would be that whole statement, yeah? It's called a tak. It's called a reason, yeah? A logical reason. Consider sound, it's a changing thing because it's made. It's also the because it's made, yeah? That's a tak. Because it's made is a tak. Got that? Is that good? Yeah? Yeah, tak is everything. And then the fact that things are made is also a tak. That things being made, yeah? So it's the reason, it's also the substance of the reason. Just so you know.
So it can be the subject, assertion, and the reason?
No,
or
no, that combination of things together.
can be the child.
The tuck is that combination, because that's how we think, remember? I go to the mirror in the morning, I brush my teeth, I say, you're a fatso. I don't say it on purpose. It's already popped up as a complete logical statement,
Right.
because you ate that bagel instead of the banana, because as you're brushing the teeth, So consider Hector, you're a fatso because you ate the bagel,
But it could also just be the because you're the bagel part.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Good, you got it. It could also be the eating bagels. Woo! What's the definition of a tuck?
We just said it.
A subject, assertion, reason.
It could be the logical statement.
Logical statement.
Yep,
It
but
could
what's
be
that mean?
Reason.
What's the definition of a tuck? Just
Oh,
trying to link things together.
Anything that
You got it.
produces or brings
Everything
about.
No!
it's given forth as a tuck.
Yeah, thank you. This or that?
Oh, anything.
Anything you present as a tuck.
Yeah. A tuck is anything that you present as a tuck. Yeah? The definition of a reason is anything put forth as a reason. Consider the sky, it's blue because of cats.
That's
What's the subject?
The
Sky. What's the assertion about the sky?
It is
It is blue. What's my tuck? What's my reason? Cat. Because it's cats.
Ate a bagel.
Yeah, because cat ate a bagel. Because I ate a bagel. That's the definition of a reason. So don't get all worked up that it's the definition of a reason is anything you put forth as a reason. Because actually that's a correct definition. As soon as you say because cats, that's a reason.
It's all reasons.
It's not, no one said it has to be a correct functioning reason, okay? A reason is defined as that thing which we say is a reason. That's okay. Is that okay? Word. So that's the definition of a duck. Just wanted to check that we're connecting previous classes to this one. Yeah. If that wasn't the definition of a reason, you'd be very limited about giving reasons. Okay. So you want to have that leeway because that's what people do. You will go to China, remembering one. If 1 is 3, yeah. If number 1 has to be number 3. In other words, what's in this statement? What's number 3? What's the reason? Because they're made. So things that are made. What's number 1? What's the subject?
Sound.
So I have to try and make sure, for this to be a correct reason, my opponent has to believe that sounds are made. Right? That's not what I'm trying to prove, though. Right? Are you with me?
Yeah.
What am I trying to prove? That's what they might have in doubt. So I'm trying to prove the assertion, the middle part, right? That things are changing, that sounds are changing. Maybe they don't believe that. But for me to make him believe that, I better make sure, for me to have a sound argument, I better make sure that they believe changing things sound is a changing thing.
No.
Sounds
are made.
Sounds are made. Damn it. That's what I'm trying to prove. Got it. Yeah? Thank you. Are we together there?
Yeah.
Yeah? If you're not, I'll give you one more go. Okay? 3 is 1, or 1 is 3. Yeah? Which is?
Which is it?
Doesn't matter. There's got to be that relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing. That sound is made. Yeah? You good? 1 is 3. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We'll play with other examples in a second. Then if it's 3, it must be 2. Is that right?
If it's 3, then number 2 is true.
If it's 3, then number 2 is true. What's 3?
Made.
Made. The number 2 must be true, if that's true. What's number 2? The thing I'm trying to prove, right? Are changing things made? How do you know that? Initially, it's because I taught you the umbrella of all existing things, right? We learned that a changing thing is a synonym for a working thing, is a synonym for functioning thing, yeah? For a made thing, yeah? So you know that, but you have to come to that belief system. Do you believe that? Does that make sense to you? Yeah? And if it does, then you use that as your argument. To check that it's a correct argument, you better make sure that if it's 3, then 2 is true. So what was the first one? Is number 1 number 3? If it's number 1, it's number 3. If it's a sound,
It's changed.
It's
made.
it's a made thing. Yeah? We all believe that. Sounds are made. Yeah? So that's good. I found common ground with my opponent. Now the tricky part. This is the part where we begin to go a little deeper. If it's 3, then 2 is true. If it's a made thing, it must be a changing thing. Is that okay? Made things changing things?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, made things are changing things.
Okay.
Is that okay with most people?
Yeah.
Here comes rule number 3. These 3 have to hold true for it to be a correct argument. If it's not 2, then it can't be 3 also. Okay? It's a sort of a negation, but it's necessary for the opponent. If it's not 2, then it's not 3. In other words, if it's not a changing thing, what's not a changing thing? Using your diagram. What's not a changing thing? What's unchanging things? Right? Got it? Good. Go back there. If it's not 2, then it can't be 3. What's not changing things? Unchanging things. Right? Then it can't be 3.
Because unchanging things
Are not made. Great. Learning? Sorry. No, it's okay. This time we're just dropping it in there. We're just dropping it in there, and we're going to do so many exercises here that you're going to get it. This is the way learning happens. You are not using your Western prejudice to observe your world and your mind. You're learning a new technique. You're all old. Of course you're going to struggle. You're old, haggard. You've stopped going to university. You're no longer at school. You think you've figured out your world, but somehow your world isn't working. Stop being old for a second. Remember being a child like we did in the meditation. Wake up to that part of your mind that is still inquisitive about the nature of existence. Yeah? That's what we're doing. That's why it's like, oh, I don't want to think about this. It'll save you from... See, there are things you can learn on the planet that will save you a little bit of time. Okay? Like figuring out the quick dial or the thumb thing for the passcode. But that ultimately ain't gonna help you get really happy. And then the other things, the ones that really ultimately free you from deep suffering or habitual suffering, they're going to take some energy. And this is the energy we're using now. So it's a good energy, okay? So get back to that excitement of looking at the world in a new way, because this new way can really free you, okay? So that's all we have to remember. If number 1 is number 3. If it's 3, then 2 must be true. If it's not 2, then it can't be 3. Is that okay? So let's do it again. 1 is 3. Are sounds made things?
Yes.
Yeah? Good. 3, then 2 is true. Are made things changing things?
Yes.
Great. So far we've got 2 things that hold. Then if it's not 2, not 3. What's not changing things? Unchanging things. Then what's not 3? Are not made. Got it. Let me see if you got this right. We did this, right? Consider sounds. They're changing things because they're made. Does 3 apply to 1?
Yes.
You said yes. Does 3 apply? Is 3 then 2?
Yes.
is not 2, not 3.
Yes.
Okay, let me see if you get this one. Consider water, it's wet because it's liquid. Your turn. Is
Yes.
liquid water?
Yes.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes.
Great. Is liquid wet?
Yes.
Yes. Is dry not liquid?
Yes.
Let's see if that's true. Holds, holds, holds.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Now I'm going to screw you a little bit with your mind. Okay? Consider sounds. They're changing things because they are not made. Ah!
Well, the first one
You
doesn't
can't
hold.
use your Western memory to go, oh, but we said the opposite. No, you got to go through the logic. You make your brain work. Okay?
Well, the
Does
first-
3 apply to 1? Is
No.
Doesn't hold.
You sure?
Well,
yeah.
We just said
Are you
sounds-
sure?
Yeah, that's.
We just said sounds are made, so how can they be not made?
Really? Who disagrees with Peter?
But this is a separate.
I
You'd be
disagree.
wrong. Yeah.
I mean, I disagree with his statement. I agree with Peter. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, the statement is not. You know it intuitively, but I want you to slowly break it down through the parts.
Okay.
Does 3 apply to 1?
No, it
First
does.
sound.
No. So you'd say that does not hold. Correct. It does not hold. What about changing the not made things changing things?
No.
No. What about unchanging things made things? No. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Consider the sky. It's good to taste because it's blue. No, but hold on. I can use a reason. What can I use as a reason?
Anything. But what can you use as an assertion?
No, but that's what I'm trying to prove. You don't believe that sky is good to taste. So I'm going to use this, and this test is whether or not I'm using a correct or a good argument to convince you.
Right.
Yeah? And it's good. Does the first one hold? Is
Yeah, the first one
Of
holds.
course it does. So I'm there, right? I'm a third of the way.
Right.
Let's go for is
If
blue.
it's blue.
If it's blue, then it's good to taste. Are all blue things good to taste?
Blueberries.
No.
I don't think it was even good.
What were you going to say?
Blueberries.
Blueberries. Yeah, but you'll come to an age where it's not true, right?
Rancid meat.
That's so good.
Great. Okay. Cool. And then lastly,
Add
if it's not good to taste,
So you can't be blue.
it can't be blue.
Blueberries, not so good.
No.
No.
Not for all.
No.
Great. Okay, you did it. Let's see if I do this one.
No.
Shin.
Come on. Anyone go?
It's a reason.
The sky is
It's
not
a
that.
reason, but is it a correct reason?
No.
No.
Is it correct tax? Sorry.
No, all of them.
No,
None
no.
hold, none hold.
No. Okay, good. How about this one? Consider Buddhism is the best religion because I follow it.
That one holds.
What is-
First one
No, true.
Yes.
But it doesn't hold.
Does the first one hold or not?
Yes.
Yeah, the first one
Why?
holds.
Because you
Because
I
I follow it.
I follow it, right? So I'm making
Yeah.
a decision. So
Right.
that's true. I follow Buddhism.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Is it the best religion because I follow? In other words,
Not necessarily.
is it if it's 3? Is
No.
everything I follow
The best.
No.
the
Yes.
best?
Religion.
For you.
Are you sure?
For you.
That's a good debate, okay? But in terms of proving it, not because I'm not proving it just to myself. I've got some weirdo over there that I'm trying to prove it. Yeah, and then how about if it's not something I follow? This is
Then it's not the best.
Maybe.
That one holds.
Yeah.
no. Are there things that I don't follow?
Are not the
Are there things that are not the best, or are not the best religions?
That you don't
Something
follow.
that I don't follow?
Does that include things we
Yeah,
follow?
That's slippery.
Give me an example.
What did I?
Any other religion.
Good. Thank you.
What?
No.
Is because I don't follow it is the worst.
Because I don't follow it, it's the worst.
Yeah, is
Are the things that I don't follow that are the worst?
Yeah, that's not true.
That's not true. Cool. Let's do this one. We have 15 minutes to have a little play together where you can use your afflictions or not, okay? You can use something to try and trip over your opponent. I'm going to put you in groups of 4, not 2, 4. So you get 2 minds on each side of the argument, yeah? So 2 of you are arguing the other 2. So 2 of you can collude, is that a word? Yeah? Collude. And come up with your own logical statement, your own talk that says, it's good for you, it's going to be fun for you. Consider blah, it is or it isn't, whatever the assertion you want to make because of cats or because of blah, yeah? And then try and give it to the other person for them to test whether it is or it isn't, yeah? You got 5 minutes for that one, and then we've got another one. Go! Do you need me to pair you up? No. 4. We're separating you 2. 4. 4. You guys are. Peter, you turn around. Steve, play.
Where?
I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you be with? No, you guys are 4. You guys are 4. Here, I think. You're 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe you two can join. You two can join another group.
Yeah, sure.
You're super intelligent. You can do it on your own.
Yeah, let's just do it on our own.
Yeah.
I can do it on my own.
You're in there.
Myself.
There's 3 there. 5, 4, 5.
It tastes delicious. Let's analyze that.
Okay.
Do a quick one. You don't mind.
This cup, they are this cup
Come up with something, and then the other half thinks of right and wrong, and then swap. And you guys come up with something, and the other guy says that's a strong or a weak one. Do you need more instructions or not? You know what you're doing?
I'm sorry.
I'm saying.
So what are we gonna say?
I always like doing hard ones. You want to do a really hard one?
Yeah.
Bring it.
No, they're listening.
Okay, so what's the double letter?
Dreams.
That would be true.
Dreams.
Dreams.
Okay.
You see a diamond change? It's hard.
For real. Or what I'm trying to say is that
But is it now
that is
changing?
reality. Right? So I guess we can say they're real, right? Because we perceive them.
Alright, and then.
Well,
you. And
do everything we perceive is reality.
So now do it.
Why is Cannibal and Jacqueline doing something on their own?
Okay, something else, but I think going along.
You can say something else, right? We can have a different assertion or reason. But I think also you say the dreams is really
dreams are a valid perception because
you're trying to prove that it's delicious.
They're perceived.
What's the essence of the assertion?
we don't want to find it.
We
We don't want to be true.
We don't want to.
no, we want to say something that's almost true, but that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and running the that's why we're out of that.
Right?
Yeah.
So then, consider dreams. They are correct perceptions.
Yeah, that's all we're doing.
Correct perceptions because we perceive them.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Well, no, everything we perceive is a correct perception.
No, it's not a correct logical statement.
I don't know. I think that's easy.
That's all we're trying to figure out.
I think that you said
Make us
that everything is perceived as a correct.
He's
think.
comfortable as in
I'm just stating that I did not
So are we supposed to make a correct one or an incorrect one?
You're supposed to make a correct one, and they're going to tell you whether it's correct or not, or you can make an incorrect one.
Oh, so it's free drawing.
It's free for all.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Let's see if this holds up here. 3 because that holds, right? With things we perceive.
There, we perceive its reality.
The 3 and 1 holds up.
Yeah, 3 and 1 holds up.
You guys are making incorrect statements. You can make mine an incorrect statement. You're welcome.
If it's not reality, then we don't. Well, if it's not reality, then we don't perceive them. Does that hold up?
No, and there's part of reality that we don't perceive.
For example, the fact that the sun revolves.
Okay, ready? No bell, no bell.
I have time, so I can do that.
It's a good fact change.
Let's make it up.
Consider fact.
The consideration of a fact is not the fact.
Let's write it up and do it.
Let's test the power.
Should we go? Should we now do our
1 minute and switch.
What do you mean switch?
Well, we haven't even done it yet.
Oh wait, what about, are we supposed to?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Consider facts.
Everyone knows.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Somebody else say that. Did you hear that?
all I'm trying to
I don't
get
know,
you
they have
to do
been
is
talking about facts, yeah.
to see if you can come up with a correct logical statement or an incorrect logical statement.
Yeah.
So your opponents, the other half of you, can have a little bit of time to test those 3 relationships, if those 3 relationship holds. If you're very clever and mean, like Javier, you're going to try and create a logical statement that's slightly off, so your opponents get tripped up, and when they're answering the 3 questions, does this hold as a correct logical statement? In other words, is 1 3? Yeah, if 3 then 2, if not 2 then not 3, that he's going to trip them up and they're going to make a mistake. That's what he's trying to do, right? Which is what mean people do. So what's the instructions, maybe I didn't do clearly, is one side does that, the other side says it's a strong, the 3 relationships do hold or they don't hold. And then you swap, and the other side gets to create a good, strong logical statement or not. So your side can say that's a correct logical statement or incorrect. You're not trying to make any proofs or anything like that that are strong. You're trying to just create a statement that has the 3 components so the other people can test the 3 relationships. And then swap and do it again. That's all. Let's do 2 more minutes. Got no time. Yeah.
Okay, so we do it. We exchange our statements.
Take this cushion. It is comfortable because it is soft.
It's not about some people, it's about
It's very pleasant, like, you know.
So consider.
Do I accept that cushions are soft?
Yes.
Do I? Okay. Sometimes I want to go first. I have to say some cushions are soft. Yeah. It holds well. It's not perfect for us. Yeah, good.
The second part is that soft things are uncomfortable.
Ooh, I like this one.
Like, hey, that's opinion because something could be too soft.
Yeah, so your opponent can say no. You're not proving it to yourself. Correct. That's good. We'll go there, but we're not doing that today. What we're doing today is seeing if people can apply the 3 relationships.
And then if
Right, that one holds.
Okay.
The relationship between three and
They do
two
not fluctuate.
doesn't hold.
They are unchanged.
Because
Okay, so
not everything that ends is changing. There are things that are unchanging.
And then in two, not two, if they,
Not everything that ends is changing.
they're changing.
Right. That's not you're trying to say not everything.
You're saying that there is between 3 and 2 that necessarily has to be positive. It's not. You're saying that not everything that ends is necessarily changing. Emptiness. The emptiness of an object is stable all throughout its existence, and at some moment it's not inexistent any longer. Once you achieve this perfect
It changes. So,
it does not change.
it does not change. It ends, but it's not a changing thing.
But it ends.
Now, you could challenge the definition. Yeah, in every whole
It does.
It does, it ends, but it doesn't.
But you're right. So you're saying
You're making the example that they're right?
no, they're saying that the direct perception of emptiness, right? The direct perception of emptiness is a changing thing because it ends. But the direct perception of emptiness ends. We know that. That's a fact. I mean, that's a fact. I don't know if it's right, but it holds. No. The second is that whatever 3 is, 2 is always. Whatever ends, okay, changes. But not everything that ends is changing. Emptiness ends, but it's not changing.
Why does that
Because the emptiness of the bottle ends the moment the bottle is no longer. But the emptiness itself is unchanging. But that emptiness is always yes, but I am arguing against the changing. I am not bringing a myself. I'm arguing the relationship.
Actually, hear me out. I would say,
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
like she said, it's the perception, and that's
Okay, who's not finished?
But
Javier,
Javier,
you have to take other people into consideration.
I don't care. It's not on me.
We're done, yeah.
We're done. My enlightenment. We only did one half.
Then you're done, because you didn't do it quickly enough. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want your examples. I want your examples.
Consider changing, consider the direct purpose.
Consider this necklace, or consider this object, it's a necklace because it's made of beads.
Okay, Cliff. So, can we? Ladies, thank you. That was good, really nice. I heard lots of passion and we didn't even get to touch it, right? But that's how I want to leave you. What's yours?
Consider this object,
Yeah.
it's a necklace because it's made of beads.
And what did your opponent say? Does that hold or does not?
No.
Do it right there.
Javier's got it.
All right, opponent.
Answer it.
Well, the first one relates to the third one, yes, but the third one doesn't relate to the second one, but because not everything that is made out of beads, it's a necklace.
So this is not a necklace made of beads.
Nice. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. All I want to do today is take our time. I love the passion that you guys want to argue. Yeah, I really want to argue, and we will use it for that. But we got to get the mechanics right. Yeah, you got to get the mechanics right. You got to be able to quickly go. If it's 1, if it's 3.
So in that case, the reasons given, but the assertion's wrong. Right?
What is it? So give us a look.
Yeah, the assertion is wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So it's. I heard also some trip ups in number 3, like in the third relationship, If 2 is not true, then 3 is not true. Yeah. In other words, if the quality is not true, then the assertion, if the assertion is not true, then the reason can't be true either. Right? Some of you tripped up on that. Give me another example with that would have been a good one. What was yours?
Consider the direct perception of emptiness. It is a changing thing because it ends.
Wow. Okay. So let's see. That's nice. Consider the direct perception of emptiness. It is a changing thing
because it ends.
Because it ends. Okay. So let's go. Does 3 apply to 1?
Does the direct perception of emptiness end?
Yes.
Does the direct perception of emptiness end?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's go. Yes.
I mean, if
Let's go there. And then so the first one holds.
That's for Buddha.
If it's So if I'm a person that just had it and then came back and has to go through the path of habituation.
Okay.
Yeah. So then if 3 is true, then 2 is true, right? So if 3, which is it ends, then
It's a changing
it's a
thing.
changing That's thing. Not true.
Does everything that's a changing thing end?
Well, everything that is a changing thing ends.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Let's go the third one, which is the reason why it's there. Okay? Which is nice. I'm
Unchanged.
glad you used this thing. Let's go the opposite. Then if the assertion is the opposite or is not true, what's
So
the
if it's
assertion?
not a changing thing,
Not a changing
then it
Something
does
is-
not end.
Then it does not end.
Then it can't end.
And that's wrong.
And that's wrong.
That's wrong.
Wait,
If something's not a changing thing,
No.
It
if
was
something is an
still-
unchanging thing,
It can still
yeah,
It
it can still end. So that doesn't hold.
So the reason.
And that's beautiful that you have that because
So
you
certain
just helped
good reasons. Yeah.
explain, because for most people, they're like, number 3 is the opposite of number 2. And it isn't. It's for this very reason. Amazing you went there so quick, which is good, really good. Anyone else want to give me their example?
Yeah, consider dreams.
Consider dreams.
They are real
They are real.
because you perceive them.
Oh!
Nice.
Consider dreams.
Monsieur.
They are real. Are dreams real?
Yeah.
Define real.
Define real, right? You have to find what your opponent
Well, do
thinks
we
it's-
perceive dreams? That's the first one. Yeah.
So we perceive
1 and 3.
dreams.
Oh, 1 and 3, sorry.
Whoops.
Because you perceive them. Yeah?
So we
Okay. Do we perceive dreams? Absolutely. Yeah,
Not
good.
all the time.
What about all the time? What about if
You might not
3,
recall them, but
then
you
2?
perceive
So if it's real.
If we perceive it as real, I guess that's the question.
if we
Define
Right.
Is it
Define real.
real.
Real to me.
That which we perceive.
Anything that,
What's the definition of reality?
anything that which we
That which can be perceived by a
valid,
valid perception.
Perception.
Right, so I've got a little bit of room to debate in there. Yeah?
That which can be perceived by valid person.
Yeah, so a drunk person might also perceive a dream, but we're not going to get into the argument, we're just seeing if the 3 relationships hold. Yeah? And then if not 2, if the assertion is not true, meaning, what's the assertion again?
They are real.
they're real. So it's
What's
not,
unreal? What's not real?
yeah.
It's not perceived.
It's not perceived.
It's not perceived.
Not hold.
Haha.
It's not
No,
real,
it
it's
doesn't
not
hold
perceived.
either.
It doesn't hold either.
You can
Well,
perceive
you
unreal
perceive
things.
things that are
If
unreal.
it is
Right.
not real,
So
it's
it's
not
unicorn.
perceived.
Quite often you perceive unreal things.
Oh, say that again?
Unicorn. You can perceive
That's
something
good.
not
Okay. So you could say that holds?
You could perceive inherent existence.
Well, I mean, you
Let's
can
go.
have, you can have.
Give it to me again. I haven't got it fully in my head.
If it's not real,
You can perceive
Then
it.
it is not,
then
it cannot be perceived.
it is not perceived.
Are all things that are not real not perceived? No, unicorns.
We get back to the
Yeah,
definition.
unicorn, so it doesn't hold.
So I would say it's real, but.
Okay.
Wait, but quick question. Perceive.
We're just.
I know, but I'm saying how is per
If it's
unicorn
ultimately
perceived?
real.
Like, In your dreams, bro.
No, you have a perception of a unicorn, but they don't exist. Okay, one more thing.
No, I think that.
I'm really happy you did that, right?
See, that's where I didn't agree with the last one, but I said that's where there would be, but that's where there would be a debate.
That, exactly. All these
Because we would
the
be
smart
debating what the definition is.
Yeah.
And we have to agree on that.
And then you
We
have to go
back to that.
Correct. You have to withdraw out of where you're at and start a new debate that proves that point. And you have to have a sharp mind.
And you start a new debate. I mean, just before my question is, like, you will say not necessarily, and then I begin to say consider.
Good. So you go. You said this. Here come the answers. When you get an incorrect statement, you don't do the first answer, but you do either of the second two answers, right? You would either say your reason is okay, but your assertion is not, which is kabamachung, or you'll say, which is the most used one, which is takmadruk, your reason is not correct, and then it's up to them. But what I want to leave you with is a prasangika. No. Only because of time, but we can do it after. Yeah? You could also give a fourth answer, which we didn't cover yet, and this is called a prasangika or a tengyu. Do you know what that is?
So Chris said something?
Chris?
Wait, what?
Doesn't follow?
Doesn't necessarily follow?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
Thanks, Chris.
If someone made a statement like, consider sounds, they're changing things because they exist, yeah? Or consider, I think I had it. Consider fruit, it must be an, if something is a fruit, it must be an apple, yeah? See how these are like big, large, universal, all-encompassing, statements? You could give them a sarcastic remark called a tengyur or prasangika, which is, are you saying? Yeah?
That's our school.
And that's our school. That's what the high school is. It's a beautiful art of sarcastically showing up the illogical nature of this. If someone gives you a stupid, all-encompassing thing, you could sarcastically return it to them with a sarcastic question with the aim to drop them straight into a direct experience of the truth that they're missing. Yeah? So we consider, what did I say?
Like the one he said about the bees.
No, not quite. Hmm?
The fruit.
Yeah.
If it is a fruit, it must be an apple.
Yeah, if it's a fruit, it must be an apple. Then you could say, then you're saying oranges are apples. Yeah. And then that's so left field for someone who's holding a weird view that you're, through being sarcastic to them, you're forcing them to consider something that was totally blind, that they were totally blind to. And that's called a prasangika. That's the second half of the fourth school.
You're kind of jumping to the end.
Yeah, you're jumping to the very end, so they're like, what the hell? And through that sarcasm, through that statement, it'll reverberate in their mind. So for this statement, give me a sarcastic remark, consider sounds, they're changing things because they exist. Give me a sarcastic remark.
Is emptiness changing?
Excellent. So you're telling me that emptiness is a changing thing, right? Right? So that's what you're saying, right? So you're like, you're saying to me that emptiness is not unchanging. Right? And then that would be so abrasive to my belief system that you would know that it would shock me out of the stupidity that I just said, because I didn't think enough about the nuance of saying because it exists. Yeah, so that could be and a reply for an incorrect statement.
So
and I want to leave you with that.
So you could say, are you telling me that emptiness is changing?
Yeah, that's it. But he's saying it. You want to say it in a way that embarrasses me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're playing with all sorts of things. So before we do that, so do we get enough information today to wreck your brain a little bit? Let me return to the reason for studying this, which is we all have assertions in our minds that are backed by reasons, and often those three relationships do not hold. I'm not fat because I eat bagels and not bananas. Yeah?
I'm bagels because I eat fat.
I'm bagels because they are bananas. And therefore I'm fat. Okay. Right? But the thing is, there's something about that unexamined belief system that drives my behavior that I just stopped looking at, and this maybe the relationships don't hold in those arguments in so many of our life experiences. Yeah? Why you're not this and this, why you're this and not that. Yeah? And you can fix a bunch of things in your life using this technique. Ultimately, you can fix the way you experience the entirety of who you are in this world using this technique. Ultimately, you'll get to the wisdom of what is it that's having these dunchis. Where did they come from? Who is the being having that, and can that being just be this, or is it something else? And ultimately, you can drop into that prasangika yourself. So, I want to leave you with a quick meditation to do between now and next Thursday, which is an analytical meditation on focusing your mind, your stream of consciousness, sort of like we did it at the beginning, attempting to go back as early as you can, following your stream of thoughts all the way up to conception, and see if you can follow the course of the course of the course of the course of the course.
Can you post this?
I can.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then with that in mind, and grateful for the interesting discussions, let's give a quick mandala offering with your best understanding of whatever dunchis you're doing.
Sashi Buki Jishim Metocham Vira Vinchin Indem Pagi Sangye Shindu Mite Luwagi Shmokun Nanda Shingla Shukasho Hirandu Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami Gewadi Yogun Suram Yeshe Tsoksokshin Suram Yeshe Junwe Dhamma Gunito Pasho.
And really understand that all the imprints you've just placed in your mind for the last 2 hours can truly lead you out of a state of confusion and into a state of wisdom. Thank you for playing the game of enlightenment with me.
Thank you for teaching.
Please stay too, otherwise I can't sit here and eat bagels.
Thank you.
For those that, thank you, it's fun.
That's you, right? I love that picture.
What you say